Catherine Massey says she could have retired 3 years ago, but she's worried about leaving.
It worries me to leave it, because I don't know where the program's going to be in 5 years, and this is not I would feel much better about leaving it if I thought it was on good, firm, ground. This worries me.
As head of Stafford County's Head Start program, a federally funded initiative that provides preschool education to low-income children, Massey and Stafford, Virginia, find themselves grappling with the impact of sequestration cuts from Washington. While Massey was able to use state funds to cover the loss of 38 slots, it is unclear what next year will hold.
If we lost federal funding, I would be worried about where I was going to get the funds for the comprehensive services that we provide with the family service workers, the health outreach, all of the things, the mental health services, all of those things that we do for families.
Head Start is the main U.S. federal program that supports the children of low-income families, in some cases earning as little as $20,000 a year, well below the poverty level, or even less. And not only does it offer a school and an education for these kids before they reach kindergarten, but it also offers crucial community services, including meals.
This isn't a Head Start program based on 3- and 4-year-old kids because we want daycare, because we have nothing better to do but eat bonbons and watch General Hospital. This is a family program. And the things that they do here, maybe Washington can't see it.
Right.
And Washington may see this as another throwaway program for people that are too lazy to get off their rear ends and go to work, excuse me for my colorful expression. But it's not. It is not another throwaway program that DC is dumping money into.
With an annual budget of $8 billion, the program was started in 1965 under then U.S. President Lyndon Johnson. But recently, the program's effectiveness and cost have been called into question, most prominently in a study by the Department of Health and Human Services, which found that by third grade, the early education benefits of Head Start had evaporated.
If we actually viewed spending as investments, we wouldn't be putting money in Head Start, because we know that Head Start doesn't have a return. When people talk about investments and they talk about social programs, they assume that these programs are effective. And in fact, almost every time the federal government has done a large-scale, rigorous scientific evaluation of a social program, it finds failure.
But advocates argue that the concerns are misplaced.
So we know that Head Start works. We have decades of research on the program that show that clearly children, when they're in Head Start, show gains in terms of their well-being and their school readiness. We also have some research showing long-term benefits. And there is, outside of Head Start, a huge body of research on the impacts of high-quality early education. So we know that high-quality programs prepare children to enter school ready to be successful, and also have really long-term effects, so increased earnings, increased employment.
Meanwhile, in Fredericksburg, Virginia, just 5 miles from the Stafford County Head Start Center, Trudy Smith has yet another capacity crowd in her Head Start Policy Council meeting.
Most of our parents are the working poor. They are working 2 and 3 jobs and still cannot and do not make a living wage. They cannot afford preschool.
Also through a partnership with the state and city, Smith was able to prevent the loss of any Head Start seats, but she says if sequestration continues, 18 seats will be lost.
They can blame each other or blame whomever, but get it together and save Head Start.
Critics argue the sequestration cuts are a mere drop in the bucket given the country's $17 trillion debt load, so programs like this are a good place to start.
It's basically a daycare. Well, it's a glorified daycare program, and the question is, should the federal government be paying for daycare for the poor? And I would say that the federal government shouldn't do so because it's not under a core constitutional responsibility of the federal government. We're approaching almost $17 trillion in debt. We had no idea how to pay this back. One of the ways that we can start being fiscally responsible is cutting funding for programs that we know that don't work. And based on rigorous scientific research, we know Head Start doesn't work.
America already trails the OECD average in terms of enrollment in early childhood education. So the cuts to Head Start raise questions about the country's commitment to schooling its most vulnerable children. And given sequestration is scheduled to last 9 more years, if that were to happen, the hallways of Stafford and Fredericksburg will be a much quieter place. James Politi, Financial Times, Fredericksburg, Virginia.